Welcome to the Canadian Intellectual Property Office's educational video series called Intellectual Property Strategy, the Problem Solver's Guide to Staying Out of Trouble. In these videos, you will learn what an intellectual property strategy is and the steps you can take to develop one for your business. Step 3. Analyze. So by now you have an IP inventory as well as an idea of the IP landscape around you. Now it's time to think about making a plan for how you will use IP assets in your business. Analyze the internal and external IP information and define what IP gaps you may have. You may also discover that some of your ideas or creations will be hard to protect. Maybe you realized your idea has been published in a scientific journal or shared before any confidentiality agreements were in place. This highlights a gap in IP knowledge and the kind of routines that need to be in place to capture and retain the value of IP. Let's take a closer look at some of the gaps you may discover as you try to connect the dots between where you want to go and what IP it'll take to get you there.
To structure your thinking and finding the gaps, start by thinking about your business goals and what IP you have. For example, if you're launching a new product or a marketing campaign, make sure that you own the trademarks to all your products and services, so that your competitors can't sell their goods with your trademark. Consider the locations your business is operating or looking to expand into. IP is a territorial right, so if you want to have a trademark or patent protection in a certain country, you would have to get IP protection in that specific country. Also, think about your core business and what makes you unique. Why do customers choose your product or service? How are you different from your competition? Is IP protecting these key differentiators? Another related area discovered in IP gap analysis is standards. Products and services are often subject to a range of regulations and standards to ensure products are safe and that performance can be measured, compared, integrated, and so on. Sometimes a dominant technology is protected by a patent which you may need to license if you want your invention to be part of a bigger system. Identifying the relevant standards is part of the gap analysis so you can determine what you need to do next.
Remember that many of the goals are also relative to time. Let's take a fictitious example and say that an inventor has made their first prototype and wants to show it to potential investors at a conference in another country. The inventor's long-term goal is to own the IP, manufacture it in another country, and sell it in various countries. But for the moment, let's say that there are no IP rights yet. Analysis of the internal audit would identify what parts of the invention could potentially be protected by IP rights. But there is a short-term gap in IP protection since the inventor wants to present his invention abroad. Another example could be that you have an idea and you know that you're going to need to hire someone to develop some new IP to make the technology work. In that case, before creating any new IP, it would be wise to ensure that you have no IP gaps in your employee contracts or with people you collaborate with. Remember that sometimes others' gaps can become your opportunities. You may have IP that you can license to others, or maybe you have identified useful IP to in-license. Maybe some IP rights are about to expire and fall in the public domain. Universities and other public initiatives sometimes collaborate to list IP available for licensing. So by the end of your analysis, you know about the relevant IP around you. You have also identified short, medium, and long-term IP gaps. Time to decide what to do in order to fill the IP gaps and make sure your IP is protected, no matter the situation.